We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
Now, in terms of story for this, I wouldn't want to do anything too drastic. Act 1 would open with a flashback to Diana's origins, and we'd then cut to seeing the Justice Society in action on a World War II battlefield, aiding troops, and then we would see Steve Trevor on a mission to obtain files regarding a secret weapon the Axis powers have apparently discovered. Trevor manages to steal the files and makes a getaway in a stolen German plane, but he ends up having to fly over Themyscira, which gets him shot down by the Amazons. This is how Diana would meet Steve for the first time, and Steve would explain how the rest of the world are at war with a dangerous adversary, and Diana plans to help get Steve home and join the fight herself. She obtains her sword, the lasso of truth, and her iconic outfit, and this is what actually ends Act 1. Act 2 would see Diana and Steve make it back to America, and just in time as well, because the US Army is planning to storm Omaha Beach to help free France from Nazi control. Diana steps up to help, and Steve's general, who was initially opposed, eventually gives permission since the other quote-unquote superhumans are also planning to storm the beach themselves with the troops. We would then see Steve and Diana meet the Justice Society, with Diana actually knowing who Dr. Fate is, due to having heard legends about the Helm of Nabu when she was a child. The rest of Act 2 will see Diana, Steve and the Justice Society strategizing their attack with Stargirl, Dr. Fate, Stripe and Red Tornado, fighting the aerial threats, while the rest of the heroes fight on the ground. Diana believes this strategy will work, and so they all set out to join the troops storming Omaha Beach. And now we come to Act 3, which will focus solely on the Omaha Beach landings. The reason I chose D-Day as the film's climax is because I feel it would be very similar to the No Man's Land scene from the first Wonder Woman, where we would see Diana kicking ass on the battlefield, and the opening fight on Omaha Beach with her and the Justice Society is meant to evoke that. Anyway, the JSA makes it past enemy lines, and they all start destroying the Nazis' weaponry and discover that the Germans have been experimenting with atomic weaponry. Now, this is also a reference to the fact that the Germans were also working on atomic weaponry during World War II before the Americans perfected that tech. Thank you, Oppenheimer. And this bomb, while not as powerful as a nuke, has enough destructive force to destroy a major city, which would give the Germans the power they need to win the war. This proves to be Red Tornado's defining moment as a hero. He plans to use his ability to destroy the bomb before it can be used, but the resulting explosion would destroy him and this army base, which houses plans for more bombs like this to be built. After fighting off a majority of the troops, the JSA retreat while Red Tornado destroys the Nazi outpost, sacrificing himself to free the people of France from German oppression. So I'm going to start off with the second film in Wonder Woman's trilogy. In a similar manner to Temple of Doom, this movie will be a prequel, set prior to the events of the first movie when Diana's faced with a trial by fire when Ares stages a conquest on her home, Themyscira. This essentially acts as Diana's origin story in this universe, as the conflict with Ares begins to make her understand what it means to be a warrior and a hero to her people. This is very much a full-on war movie, with Diana trying to defeat Ares before he can conquer all of Themyscira and make his presence known to the rest of the wider world. It all comes to a head in the final battle when Diana gets the upper hand in this final conflict and manages to get the killing blow in on Ares, winning the conflict and saving her home. And this will also directly set up the first Wonder Woman film, which you saw in Phase 1, with a post-credit scene, or this film better yet ending with Steve Trevor's plane crash landing on the ocean side of the island, more or less. And next up we come to Wonder Woman 3, which will focus on Diana as the new leader of the Justice League. Now, as a recap here, the original JLA lineup, which consisted of Superman, Martian Manhunter, The Flash, you can Well, you can go watch the video. That lineup fell apart in the aftermath of Batman's betrayal, and in order to combat Ra's, Bruce formed a new reserve team of heroes. This team, combined with Diana and Martian Manhunter, have now become the new Justice League, dubbed the Justice League International, and they currently assist with major incidents and natural disasters. Regarding storylines, this film will see the US government attempt to rein in the League with Batman dead and the former members no longer involved, as the leader of this movement against the JL International is none other than Maxwell Lord. Now, this movie would see Maxwell Lord purchase the rights to the Watchtower, making him the de facto benefactor of the League. Oliver, who's had his fair share of run-ins with rich people, is sceptical of Lord's intentions, and he's right to be cautious as it then transpires that Maxwell Lord wants to franchise the League and create superhero teams for the entire world, with the starting point being the JL International and the secret agenda being Maxwell Lord wants to control and influence the higher powers. Diana and the team break into Lord's building, and after getting into the science labs of Max's company, Diana and Oliver discover that Max has somehow been able to reconstruct Red Tornado, previously seen with the Justice Society in World War II on the shores of Omaha Beach. Diana remembers Red Tornado's sacrifice, but the League is interrupted when Max shows up and says he now has the authority to disband the team now that they've broken into his company. However, Cisco has managed to copy all of Lord's plans onto a hard drive, and the League is able to escape. With the Watchtower itself unsafe, Oliver and Cisco head to Gotham for the assistance of the Bat family in exposing Maxwell Lord's plans. This eventually works, and Lord's plans are then exposed to the world. Eventually it comes down to a battle of the JLI and Red Tornado against Maxwell Lord and his army of androids. Another point I want to bring up in this film is that Max, by examining the remains of Red Tornado, has successfully managed to copy the cybernetics and create an army of android robots. Eventually the robots themselves are defeated, and Max is incapacitated and sent to prison for his crimes. Now, Max's company Lord Tech is then brought out by Queen Consolidated, and the team continues to operate, now with the backing of Oliver, who's essentially taken Bruce's role as the main source of funding. And the first major change is that Oliver funds the construction of the Hall of Justice, to act as a new HQ, which leads to the Watchtower itself being decommissioned.